welcome to Rotted Review of the Day, and it is December 5th, which means we open the fifth door to our advent calendar of Christmas horror movies as we count down to the big day. And today's review is the 2016 movie Good Tidings. This is a movie that I found to be a very decent premise, a very good start, but ultimately could not keep up the momentum to wind up in the entirety of the hour and a 39-minute runtime that it wound up having. This is another example, unfortunately, that I've been seeing a lot lately of a decent premise that should have been a short film. So in this movie, we're introduced to the character of Frank Rowland, who is a homeless veteran in the UK, as he basically has kind of a situation where he's responsible for other homeless folks, and they reside in an abandoned, well, not abandoned, a for sale courthouse that has yet to find a buyer. So in the meantime, they set up tents and they basically try to keep warm, and it is now the holiday season. It is Christmas Eve, and they are doing their best. They are basically scavenging for food and doing their best to keep up a sense of merriment in the holidays despite the bleak situation that they're in. One thing that doesn't help is when they are beset upon by three psycho killer silent Santas. And the mayhem ensues from there as they are picked off by these knife-wielding, well, psychopaths, really. Now, for me, this is a situation where this movie could not really decide what it wanted to be. And that, I felt, was really unfortunate, especially considering the, in my opinion, strong start that it had. It really could have gone down. I mean, this is a movie where once it established everything and set the ball rolling and we had the idea of what this movie was going to start becoming, it wound up having several forks in the road. And rather than take any one of them, it basically just plopped down and sat down and decided to just kind of let the hour and 39 minutes run down. This could have had a lot of good social commentary in terms of subtext of homelessness, and it really failed to go that route. I felt that was a really unfortunate misstep. This really could have easily gone that way, and I think one of the best ways that it could have done that is with an external factor. A lot of times, a good horror film will use the concept of the immediate danger of the horror to represent something else, or to at least shine a light on something else. And I think with an external element, that could have really easily been done if, say, one of the homeless folks had a burner phone, or because the courthouse wasn't abandoned, it was just up for sale. I think it would be within the confines of not stretching the imagination too much if one of the phones in the building still worked. And by having that, you could have a sense of external apathy. You could have the police not believe them, the police not wanting to do anything about it, and then they could contact the press, and the press could basically have some vapid sympathy, but ultimately wind up doing nothing, and then the press could have public opinion weigh in on it. And it basically can take the concept of, instead of having a more general, kind of gray area, soft danger, such as weather conditions or hunger or something like that, and have more sharp, precise, there are people in here killing us, and then still have an external sense of apathy towards their plight. It really could hammer home a very strong social commentary and subtext within the film. But they didn't go any route like that. They established a lot of woe is us kind of situational plight for the characters, but ultimately didn't do anything with it. They could have also had a situation where, okay, the main character of Frank, he is a veteran. He has PTSD. He doesn't want to engage in violence. That's an area of himself that he wants to suppress. Actually, he's not quite so much a veteran as he is AWOL, because he doesn't want to be violent anymore. And now a situation is being thrust upon him where he has to be. Fight or flight has kicked in, and because they're locked inside, flight is not an option, leaving only one recourse for this character. And they really could have explored that more. They could have had a bloody, gory, die-hard-ish situation where, the hero has to rise above and, go for it and, be haunted by his actions later, but in a, rise above. And ultimately, the Frank character, he's a leader of this group, but he really doesn't do a whole lot beyond just kind of be moral support for folks. He is a kind of an active, engaged character within this film, but he just doesn't really do much as far as taking that level of the character that they established and using that as a baseline for development. So it was a missed opportunity there. And then another route they could have gone down is just to have just absolute mayhem, balls to the wall, locked inside, killer Santas, blood and gore splattering everywhere, mayhem-ish style horror film. And they really didn't go that way either. I mean, there was some good kills, there was some good moments, there was a bit of good gore, but a lot of things happened off screen, and there was some CGI blood. It really felt like it was just kind of softening the blow for absolutely no particular reason. I mean, this is a horror movie. It's not going to be accessible to all ages. Just go for it. And I think that there is a certain level of futility in indecision. And by deciding to go the route they did, by not choosing any of the available paths to them and just letting the hour and 39-minute runtime run out, I really couldn't help but feel like as I was watching it, I just kept getting more and more checked out. And the thought that would not escape me is that they could have told this story with an hour trimmed off of it. If it had basically just been a long, short film of 39-minute runtime, I would have been a lot happier. As it was, I just really didn't feel like it lived up to the promise that it made with its strong start. I'm going to go and throw up all the scores here. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And yes, the plot definitely got affected. I think that they could have done so much more than they did. And that obviously affects the intention. I was, like I said, I was really engaged, and that's one of the things that really it kills me about this is I got, they hooked me. I was good. So much of these Christmas horror movies, you watch the first 5 minutes of it, and you're like, oh, geez, this is what we're in for, and you just kind of buckle up and go for the ride that it takes you on. But this one, I was on board for. It was like, okay, good character, good setting, good situation, a lot of strong possibility, promise, whatever you want to call it. And it was just ultimately disappointing. And as I felt myself get checked out as the movie progressed, I felt myself just get more and more disappointed because I had been at that point expecting a bit more from it. So, I mean, as far as the technical goes, this is a situation where I wanted to have it higher than it was. And it, by all rights, I mean, okay, the amateurish camera work, the cinematography, the sound design, this is a low-budget production. And I take that with a grain of salt. I say that that can be an excuse as far as not having the most polished camera work involved and so on and so forth. But the one thing that I really don't excuse that could have elevated the technical score higher was the practical effects. Having kills off screen is cheap, and I don't really like it. I think that, I mean, okay, leaving some stuff to the imagination. It depends on the visual context of the film and what you're trying to establish. If you're trying to establish some subtle, low-key, pit-of-the-stomach kind of terror by slowly ramping up the movie and revealing a little bit more and a little bit more, but at the start just kind of, not showing the face of the killer, not showing the blood and gore and so forth. Okay, I'm good with that. It depends on how you want to establish your movie, but this was basically killer Santas running amok, killing homeless people. There's no reason to not have a lot of special effects and gore and practical effects, and I don't take a low budget as an excuse. Not for this. If you have a grandmother, raid her pantry. She's got some gelatin sheets, she's got some food coloring, she's got some Karo syrup, she's got some flour. Make it happen. We are living in a situation where we have decades and decades of experience and people that have fine-tuned and tried out these recipes and these methods and to make this kind of thing happen. And we have never lived in a better time of having so much experience wrapped up in a situation where we have so much access to information sharing. So there's really no excuse. It's not like it was back in the 1980s where, good luck getting Tom Savini on the phone and, so on. But now we have a situation where you can watch YouTube videos. You can find out how to make artificial limbs, how to make, all sorts of stuff happen. And having off-screen kills in a movie such as this felt cheap. The technical should have been much higher, even in lieu of the amateurish, low-budget nature of the film. So, all told, we wound up with a score of 30 out of 100 points, and I just can't help but feel disappointed by this movie, and because of that, I really cannot recommend it. Now, I wanted to, I really, really wanted to, but I just can't. It winds up wandering off and meandering and having way too much downtime, and, as far as any kind of character development, it just fell flat on that front, too. It just didn't know what it wanted to be, and it wound up, like I said, making a decision to have no decision, which is a decision in itself. only one that affects the score and affects my ability to recommend this movie. So that's about it. That's my review of 2016's Good Tidings. I really thank you for joining me here today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe. And if you want to support me further, my Patreon and my merchandise storefront links are below. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.